Hello and welcome to the Engineer Your Success, Leadership, and Life Harmony Like a Mother show. I'm your host, Kinia, award-winning investigative journalist and maternity and working motherhood strategist and host of the Mom BA program, a leading program for personal and professional development for mothers and their partners and their companies that are playing in really demanding careers, right? Corporate, competitive, STEM careers. And the reason we're here, me as a mom of two, as a professional woman, is because we know becoming a new mom or a new working mom can be hard. It's very challenging. Your identity changes, right? Your values might shift. Your relationship with your spouse might change. Your finances change dramatically. Women can face the $1 million wealth gap, right? If you don't take the right preventative action. And you can feel so alone. And we don't want you to be alone with that crushing overwhelm of trying to figure out work and family life integration on your own, work-life harmony, however you like to call it. And so that's why we bring you the best guests, experts, and tips. And today we are talking about tapping it better. Many of us in demanding careers experience anxiety, depression, irritability, right? Sleep deprivation, negative states of mind, negative feelings that can truly affect how we experience life as a mother, as a parent, and our performance at work. We know that we want to do our best. Many of us work in jobs that demand high degrees of precision, that impact safety. And so that's why I have with me today a very special friend and expert. And I was practicing the name Yolanda Saez Castello. Who is renowned, thank you, who is renowned for helping women smash through their limitations to achieve what they have set their heart on and live the life they deserve. She is an ex-Fortune 500 banker and London Business School Masters of Science who pivoted into looking after professional women's well-being in 2007. Yolanda has pioneered a technique combination of mindset coaching and advanced tapping techniques, which she has introduced successfully in schools and corporate boardrooms alike, while helping thousands of private clients as well. Her referral partners include the foremost psychiatric clinics in Europe. And Yolanda is committed to women empowerment and is an export director, currently ambassador of Board Apprentice Global. It's such a pleasure to have Yolanda. Our community members love her. We have her as a partner in our program to really help us tap into a better state of mind. So, I will hand over the mic in just a second, but I'll give an overview of what we're talking about. If you're not familiar with tapping, it is exactly what it is. So imagine if you're listening to us, using your fingers to tap on top of your head, above your eyebrows, under your eyes, just under your nose, under your chin, and other places too, your bones. Well, Yolanda will talk about it, but there are acupressure points or acupuncture points. She'll give the details that affect how your blood flows and how it affects the amygdala and your experience of stress and negative feelings. So it is a science-backed proved technique. Many of our engineers like to use it. They find it very effective. And so today we'll be talking you through this method, how simple it is, how effective, and how it's helped so many people really go from difficult states of mind to getting where they want to go. Yolanda, did I summarize this pretty well?
Yes, well done, Kinia. Well done.
All right, let's say your name the way you like to say it, because I do speak some Spanish and I have a lot of fun. So let's just practice the pronunciation to start off.
I was so impressed with your pronunciation of Yolanda Saez Castello. I've never in my life heard a Polish woman based in Canada say Yolanda Saez Castello quite so well as you did.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm touched. I think I had told you that I spent over, 5 or 6 weeks in Spain as an au pair when I was younger, and traveled in Spain quite a bit, and even in Guatemala. So whenever I have a chance, the Spanish pronunciation, depending on where you are in the country, is so different. And I know you're on an island of Jersey, which I guess is a British island, if I remember correctly. Yes, so you are not British in Spain, but clearly your name is very Spanish, right?
Quite. I don't get that much of a chance to practice my Spanish here. So it's always a pleasure. Any excuse.
Wonderful. Okay, you know what? Let's dive in right into what kind of women, you understand our community, right? We have high achieving women who have transitioned into motherhood, or some of them, their kids are a little bit older and they're at a crossroads, right? Or they're experiencing significant stress in their work. So can you give us an idea of things that some of your clients are experiencing, right? And what happens when you do some tapping sessions together?
My clients have one thing in common. They are all invariably remarkable women who are doing so much for this world. And I am in awe of all of them. But with doing so much for this world come challenges, don't they? So these women are all highly educated, often very technical. Like you said, a good bunch of them are all engineers for some reason. And they do very technical jobs that require clarity of mind, that require accuracy, and that require, delivering all that is expected of them. But of course, as well as being professionals, well, they have lives. They are human. They have families, they have children, they have perhaps elderly relatives that they have to look after or worry about. They're in the middle of a pandemic, and they have to do all this, and obviously keep smiling. And sometimes, you know what, it's not easy. In fact, often it's not easy. There's so much expected of all of them, really, of all of us in a way. So what I often see will be a variety of stress, perhaps overwhelm, overworking, sleep deprivation, all excessive worrying sometimes, all sorts of emotional issues of that type. But they end up showing up as anxiety, as irritability. They can show up in so very many ways. And eventually these women end up, blaming themselves, when in actual fact, there is so much that they're doing that they deserve a pat on the back for, basically.
Or the pat on the head. I'm doing it as we're talking.
Or a tap. A tap
on the shoulder, a pat.
Exactly. A pat on the back and a tap on the head, right?
Yes.
And then all the other points that I tap with them on.
So what does a tapping session look and feel like when you do it individually or sometimes in a group session? But what happens? What is the process? I mean, if you don't mind, I can kind of jump in. I've experienced it, but you asked me to make a list of things that I don't feel great about, right? So we made a list of those, and then you showed me this panel, this picture on camera that you asked me about the intensity of the yuckiness. Yeah, you put it up. So I have like a smiley face with a 0, and then you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 10 being extremely unhappy. You have this face that is quite miserable, right? And so after we did that, then what I do like very much about the tapping protocol that resonated with me is that there's an acknowledgement of what's going on that's not great. So we tap like, I am so angry about this situation, right? And so the first few minutes have been about simply acknowledging what's not working. And then there's a self-love piece to it, which I think you will explore. But to me, it struck me as already just from that, and you and I have talked quite a few times now, when you're becoming familiar in our community. And for our listeners, Yolanda and I are developing a special partnership because we're seeing that her work is so effective for our demographic and psychographic. But there's a little bit of the world of toxic positivity, right? When we talk about feeling negative, and so there can be these almost even more negative spirals where if you don't process those emotions and you just kind of try to grin and bear it and pretend it's not happening, or gratitude is a very important practice. We know that it can boost your self-esteem, but it doesn't always make those difficult feelings go away. And so those wellness practices that don't acknowledge, that don't name what's going on, that don't create the safe space for like saying, yes, I'm angry. I feel anger in my body. This is so upsetting, which is one of the reasons I really fell in love with what you're doing and why we're continuing the conversations is there's that part. Now, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot, but can you actually speak to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love to, Kinia, because you see, one of the first principles in psychology is acknowledging that there is a problem.
Yeah.
You cannot solve a problem if you have not even acknowledged it's
Right.
there, right? So in that respect, my work is always so down to earth, and it always starts with, yes, with honoring your feelings and giving
Mm.
them a voice, we call it. So that like I say, that is on the one hand just very down to earth. You cannot say to somebody, just keep repeating it's okay, because they're going to say to me, Yolanda, honey, it is not okay. It is very much not okay. I am very much not okay, right?
Yeah.
So in tapping, we always start by acknowledging the feelings and giving them a voice, followed, not so much followed, but accompanied by the tapping, because of course the science of tapping says very clearly that what is happening as you tap is there are very strong signals being sent to the brain. Very thorough research, in fact, gold standard functional MRI scanning, brain scanning, shows very clearly what's happening in your brain. And what is happening in your brain is that the part of your brain called the amygdala,
Yep.
which kicks off the fight or flight response, receives, in fact, reduced blood flow as you're tapping. So, and there are many other effects, such as the very well thoroughly proven drops in cortisol, in stress hormones as well.
Oh, so important for so many of us.
Cortisol, we're programmed, we are wired to have a little bit of stress. And they say something like 20 minutes to half an hour. I think it's once a day or perhaps once every 2 days, that we can cope with perfectly well. But of course, our stress levels are often very high and on a continuous basis. So that's what we're not so programmed to do. That's what we don't cope well with. And our cortisol levels stay very elevated, and that can wreak havoc with your health. So back to, going negative first, as you're tapping and acknowledging that there is an issue, that you are angry, that somebody was very unkind, or that you are very stressed, or that you haven't slept and feel very tired, or whatever the case may be, as you're doing this acknowledging of the issue, the tapping is already sending calming signals to the brain. Mm-hmm. And it's going to naturally get you into a place where you start to feel calmer, and it starts to make sense to move into the positive, to say, but perhaps there is a way out of this. Perhaps I can process this and remain calm. Perhaps next time I can do better, whatever the case may be, that going positive looks like in your case. And of course, the other big factor in starting with a negative and in acknowledging there is a problem is that if you don't do that acknowledging, there's only one place you're heading. I know, because I've been there, and it's burnout. And you really don't want to go there. You really don't want to get there if you can possibly avoid it. Not that it is unsurmountable. I surmounted it. But so that is entirely possible. But ideally, you don't want to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I think we covered it. For those who are listening to us through audio, right? Because I'm talking to you on video right now, but as a podcast, most people will listen to it. Can we just name the places that we're tapping, right? As we're doing it, so people give an idea. I think you can Google it, probably EFT or tapping common points. I'm used to it because we've talked so many times, but
you would start with the side of the hand. So on the side of the hand, about halfway through it, that's where you would start tapping with 2 fingers. You can use 2 fingers, because if you use 2 fingers, you will catch it for sure. These points, technically speaking, are not exactly acupuncture points, even though we call them acupuncture points. Technically speaking, they're the endpoints of an acupuncture channel. So they're more like a little area. Therefore, if you tap with a couple of fingers on them, you're definitely going to catch them, and you must never worry about getting them wrong or missing the exact point.
Right.
Okay. So you start on the side of the hand, and to do the most basic sequence of emotional freedom technique, which is a simplification of other forms of tapping that not many people are trained on, even though I am. But I'll show you the simplified version of it, the one that millions of people use by virtue of its simplicity, really. So you start tapping on the side of the hand with 2 fingers, halfway through the side of the hand, and
So
perhaps
the pinky side, right? For those of us listening, it's on the
yes.
pinky side, not on the thumb side, but
Okay.
the pinky side, right? Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. And you can start thinking something along the lines of, even though I've got this feeling, whatever this feeling is, and make it as specific as you can, even though I'm so stressed out, or even though I feel so overwhelmed, or even though I feel so sad, or so upset, or so scared, right? Mm-hmm. I accept myself anyway. And you would do that 3 times in as much detail as you can. And then you would move on to just finding a summary sentence, perhaps about the feeling itself. So all this overwhelm. And then you tap on the other tapping points, which I will describe. Top of the head, first of all. So say all this feeling, whatever the feeling is.
All this anger, all this sadness.
All this anger, all this sadness. Then go to your eyebrow point, which is between your 2 eyebrows, where both eyebrows start. Mm-hmm. All this feeling, all this sadness, all this anger, whatever you might be feeling, outside the eye, on the body beat, all this feeling, all this intensity, all this stress. Choose a feeling, like Kinia, like you were saying earlier. Ideally, you give it a number from 0 to 10, just to keep it very down to earth and very measurable.
Yeah.
Okay, then you go under the eye, on the bony bit as well, not the fleshy bit so much, but on the bony bit under the eye, and you keep tapping there, and you keep repeating all this intensity, all this stress, whatever it might be. Under the nose, another very important acupuncture channel ends there. And of course, as we tap, I'll explain briefly, just stay tapping under the nose. Of course, acupuncture has existed for so many thousands of years that yes, by the time we created, Western medical acupuncture, goodness me, acupuncture has been around way before many other systems of healing have been. So then you move to the next point, which is the chin point, just on the crease under your lips, just on the crease, and keep repeating whatever the feeling was, all this stress. Then you go down to your collarbone. Mm-hmm. So under the little dip in the middle, about an inch down and an inch out. So either side of the collarbone, really. And you're repeating all this feeling, all this stress. Under the arm.
That's the brass strap, right? That's some people call the brass strap.
Yeah, around where the brass strap is. On both sides, you can do one side first, another one next, or you could do both at the same time, which looks a bit like you're hugging yourself, which is kind of nice sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, then you'll go back to the top of the head. This is the most basic tapping sequence. And I'll just summarize by saying you don't need to stay there very long. 4 to 6 taps are plenty of tapping. So you can go from the top of the head to the eyebrow, feeling the feeling outside the eye, all this feeling under the eye, all this feeling under the nose, all these nerves, all this stress. I get a lot of people that are nervous if they have to do public speaking. Yep. So this is a really effective way of clearing your nerves and focusing your mind. Chin point, all these nerves, collarbone, all these nerves. Because of course, once all that blood flow doesn't have to go to the amygdala to keep you in fight or flight, then it's free to go. Let's go under the arm now. It's free to go anywhere else, such as, guess what? Your frontal lobe for clear thinking. For that good technical work, for that good speech, or whatever the case may be. Then we might take a little break, do a deep breath. 5 in, 5 out, ideally through your nose. This is a complete system of healing, actually, which is called the oxygen advantage. You can refer to it if you're curious. And it's all about how involving your nasal membranes produces more nitric oxide, which is what people take to relax their blood vessels and bring down their blood pressure. So we would often in my sessions do a 5 in, 5 out through your nose, and then check the number. Literally, I'm a numbers person. I'm a chartered accountant, apart from a master's of finance and in science. So we would go back to our numbers. It can feel, while it can feel a little odd to put a number to a feeling,
Yes.
in actual fact, it's a very objective way of seeing where the progress is already being made.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I experienced it, and many women whom I work with have experienced it. And in the beginning, it can sound really trivial. They're like, I'm going to tap myself to feel better. And so anybody can be, right? Anybody can be forgiven for thinking that. But I, as I said, I love a relationship, and Yolanda, the women in the Mom BA community and Pros and Babes are very grateful for you, because it is improving our quality of life. And whenever you come to talk to us, and I know a lot of practitioners in the field of mindset, but you come with a very specific type of generosity and deep love for your clients. And that is felt. Yeah, we feel it. I think we feel that you are, you acknowledge you acknowledge how hard it is. And many times we're kind of told to suck it up. We have running water, we have food, we have beautiful children. Many of us have partners, right? I mean, some people don't have a partner. A lot of the people I work with have partners. Sometimes it's not easy, and we have so much to be grateful for. And yet it is, it is a difficult time of much anxiety. We grew up thinking, and we were told we could have it all. Yet having this all, we realize at this stage, it comes at a high price, at the price of hormonal disruptions, right? Stress, anxiety. And so it can be a very weird mental space to be in. Whereas on the one hand, you want to be grateful and you feel lucky and you feel privileged. But on the other hand, sometimes we go through periods of time where we, suffer so much, right? We tolerate, and especially in early motherhood, the sleep deprivations that changes, you lose a sense of your identity. So we are very grateful for the love that you show our community, for your generosity, and for the dedication you show to this practice and giving us hope, right?
It's an absolute pleasure, and it's an absolute honor to serve your community. All these amazing women doing stupendously remarkable work in the world, and like with everything else, Kinia, this is another part of my work that I don't mention so often, but that is as effective as the tapping, if not more. It's how sometimes our mind has so much to say and so much to do with how we're feeling, that for these very advanced minds to actually be able to demystify how the process works, to fully understand how the human experience really comes about and not how it looks like it works, it's very valuable. And it's how could I put it? It's an understanding that I have come across that I simply cannot keep to myself. I see all these wonderful women working hard, doing so much, doing it so well, and yet sometimes feeling so deeply unhappy that I simply cannot just sit there and see this happening. I am going to, if I can, if I'm allowed to, I am going to go in there and I am going to help.
We are really lucky to have you, truly. Few people take the time to acknowledge that. I think I will say this, I'll be very blunt. I think mothers are often forgotten. We're really forgotten. We're too tired to advocate for ourselves. And as much as I run a business to support women just like you, and we help them achieve fantastic successes, it is bloody hard. It is really hard to do what we do. And there aren't many people really standing up for us and understanding our experience, how it's two jobs at once. And even when you outsource and you get help, and it's still
it's still not that easy. It's still not that easy, but there we are, keeping on, right? And that's the exact point. That's the idea, to show the next generation how this is done, to show them how it is not easy, but to show them how we won't give up.
Yeah, Absolutely. Absolutely. And we
Absolutely.
need to take care of our mothers because the mothers are backbones of communities, right? We take care of children and partners and we bring so much value. And so we can't just suck it up all the time and not take care of our mental health and heal
Exactly.
ourselves, because that does impact children
Absolutely.
and everything else
Absolutely.
in the fabric of society. So wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yolanda, just as a last, maybe a last topic or last question quickly, you are a mother too, right? And
Indeed.
so, if you want to tell us about your transition into working motherhood for you and what you hope that your kids will remember about you when they saw you as a working mother, as a woman building a business and helping others, what can you tell us about that?
Mhm. My transition to being a mother, a working mother, was, well, like for so many women, not that easy. I was a banker when I first became pregnant, and I took just for reasons of moving countries and things. I took a little time out while I was still pregnant, and all of a sudden, I had this baby in my arms, and I had this choice of I was in a different country. I was still employed by what was then the biggest bank in the world, but I had this choice to make. What do you want to do with your life? What for a minute it's as if the universe seems to have given me a breather to consider my options. And I thoroughly respect that everybody is different and everybody has different priorities. And I have really close friends who I think of so highly, and they just genuinely couldn't wait to get back to the office when they
Yes.
had a baby, right? That was not my case. I certainly wasn't looking forward to it, and I kept postponing it and postponing it and postponing it. In the end, it became abundantly clear to me and everyone involved that I just didn't want to go back. So that's when I pivoted into helping other women like me who were working very hard and doing very well, but were not happy. We're not
Mm.
happy, and in so doing, of course, I created my own business a good number of years ago. And of course, like every other woman that has made a huge pivot, sometimes I wonder, is this the right thing? Should I have remained ever the senior banker? Is this, is this the right thing? Goodness me, I could not be happier with the impact that women like me have, that just keep at it and see that the world does not really need another banker, that the world needs people that care and that will do what they need to do to show it. And in terms of how my children, what I'd like my children to look back and remember, what can I say? I would not love it, I would adore it if they could just remember me as somebody that pointed them to their own resilience, to their own greatness, and and really as somebody who showed in her own humble way, showed other women the way to start seeing their own worth. Because when you start seeing your own worth, you stop being in your own way and you start achieving the life that you deserve.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yolanda, where can people find more of you if it's not in our community where you're hanging out with us? But I think it's tapitbetter.com.
That's correct. Tapitbetter.com is correct. I also have a free Facebook group that people may feel free to join. Just if you have a little look for it in Facebook, it's called Freedom from Stress. And then in brackets, it very naughtily says FFS. I know. That's the one. If it says that, that's my group. Click on it. I have a small but effective community there where I help people. We chat, we do things, and the first thing you might find useful when you come in is the very many short clips, videos I have applying this kind of this kind of framework, I suppose, of tapping and of mental health coaching to various issues that might be the specific issue that you're interested in. Just have a look. You can always, of course, find me on LinkedIn as well.
Yes.
It's my name there. It's Yolanda Saez Castello, as you so well say.
It will be in our show notes so people can, we'll see the spelling, they will see the website and all of that. Yolanda, thank you so much as always for your time. I will see you backstage, Yolanda, and see you next time on Engineer Your Success, Leadership, and Life Harmony.